Okay, we're live.
You always do all this preparatory looking around,
Every time we go live,
checking
actually.
all the things.
So let me lead off with a hit. The first question here, just right out of the gate. Did you and Melanie agree on whether to launch an online store?
the key part of that question, did we agree on what? Anything? No. We never agree on anything, but especially not the online store. That took some convincing for you to get me on board with that. I couldn't fathom how we were going to ship chocolate without it melting, how I was going to produce enough stuff where we're going to store all the shipping things. At the time, we didn't have this fantastic shipping shed that we're sitting in right now. It took a lot of convincing.
Well, today we're going to talk about everything related to opening an online store. And I will tell you, at Hill Country Chocolate, we were a point of sale retail business. We have a chocolate factory. People can come in, they can look at our windows. And the experience that we created was the retail store was kind of intimately connected to the factory. But we just knew that to grow our business outside that retail store, we needed to create an online store. And I'm going to walk you through with Melanie today. We're going to walk through the journey of what happened when we decided to create an e-commerce store. And we're going to let you know what worked, what didn't, what mistakes we made. And if we were looking back, things that we would have done different, or at least we would have known going into it. That fair?
I think so. I think there's a lot we wish we would have known going into it.
So why did we open the online store?
Because you made me, not because I wanted to, and then gradually I saw the need for it. I saw your vision in what you were trying to accomplish by forcing this on me. I think we did it because we're in Fredericksburg and we're a town of tourists and visitors. And yeah, they want to have chocolate while they're here, but maybe they go back home and they want chocolate, and chocolate's a gift. I mean, let's be honest. It's not something that everybody can just sit on the couch like Peg Bundy and just munch on. It's a gift. It's a luxury item that people enjoy giving and receiving. And yeah, we could it needs to be available to them from home.
Yeah, so for me, I will tell you, it was a little bit about the fact that, and Melanie's heard this 1,000 times, and that is there's only two metrics that I look at, and that's the customer acquisition cost and the lifetime value of the customer.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have a retail store, you have to get people in your store. So you have social media and you have advertising, you have billboards, you have print advertising, people are in your magazine, people see things and actually show up at your store. But when they leave your store, there's no more opportunity to sell. And so the idea behind the online store is that you create a lifelong journey with the customer. So they start to enjoy your product, you start to add value to their life. And through that, you can continue to sell to them, even if they're not part of your retail experience in your store. So that's really that's the soft and fuzzy kind of reason to do it. But I will tell you, we had no idea what we were getting into.
Not at all.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, very fair.
The very first thing that I think that, and I'm going to ask you about this and see if you agree with me, is that I think we thought that opening an online store as a small manufacturing business, the online store would actually be it's just a extension to your store. It's just you're just adding on another thing, but that's not true, is it?
No, it's not true at all. That's not at all what it is. It's a whole other complete element that requires everything that your regular store does, and even a little bit more. I think we underestimated things like the amount of photography we were going to have, because even though we're seeing this product and it looks beautiful in our hand, that has to translate on a computer screen or on a mobile device so that people purchase it and they know what they're getting. The descriptions alone were massive because, again, they can't see it, they can't sample it, they're not holding it. You got to be really in depth on everything that you're describing to them. And then there's logistics of getting it to them. It's chocolate. It's hot. We're in Texas. I don't know what we were thinking, but yeah, let's ship some chocolate.
Well, that was certainly the story, and she sort of nailed it. So we'll kind of walk you through the journey about how all this came down. So we decided we wanted to do it. We looked at a lot of platforms out there, and we finally landed on Shopify. And Shopify is a very common e-commerce solution. I think it's probably built for all comers, but clearly it's built for big retailers too. So that means there's a lot of features. There's so many features that as a younger e-commerce store, I think we were a little overwhelmed. I think that would be a fair statement.
Yeah, sky's the limit for what you can do with Shopify and how you can curate your product, what your whole image looks like on your website, the user interface. I mean, and we made mistakes with that the first time around. We made a really, really pretty website. It was beautiful. We loved looking at it and scrolling on it, and people were not purchasing from it. And so we had to learn what the friction was and why people weren't clicking to buy and why they were just kind of scrolling around for a little bit and then leaving and not completing transactions.
I think she hit on a really good point. So I don't, when we built our e-commerce store, we built it with a developer, and the developer actually helped us design it. And I'm going to be honest with you, you can go online and you can build your own e-commerce store
Mhm.
on Shopify. I don't think most people do that. I think most people are going to hire an equivalent web designer on Fiverr, or maybe a local person that does that to help them put the store together. But Melanie hit on the key feature. One of the big things that we found right after we launched was that we built this beautiful website. It looked functional to us, but we found out that people didn't purchase. They landed on the website, they looked around, but they didn't actually purchase. And I think we had a really rude awakening about 4 months after we opened the e-commerce store, that the purchase conversion, it's hard. It's really hard.
It is hard. And that's where your expertise had to come in, because I don't know anything about that back end of having to figure out why they're not purchasing. And luckily, you're nerdy and you don't mind
Well,
digging
I'm
into that.
nerdy, and I will tell you, this was probably this is the first like come clean on setting up an e-commerce store. I don't know everything particularly about it. And I had a rude awakening about how much friction plays a role in opening your store. And the second part of it is how big of an influence Amazon is on your e-commerce store. Because you think of yourself as like craft chocolate maker, people are going to jump on there, buy your chocolate. It's kind of romantic. You've got beautiful pictures. It's delicious. But in reality, consumers actually want an Amazon-like experience when they check out. And I think that was probably the biggest rude awakening for me.
That was part of it, and then, like you said, they're used to purchasing on Amazon and they want that Amazon experience. They also have the free shipping Amazon mindset of, "Well, I don't wanna pay for shipping," and we all do that. We all shop around, and if there's a minimum to meet to get free shipping, you're gonna meet the minimum because nobody wants to pay for shipping, because Amazon has taught us that we don't necessarily have to pay for shipping on items that we're either gonna enjoy or we're gonna gift to someone. So that was a huge hurdle to come across too, because I mean, you almost have to have some element of that, either reduced shipping or free shipping. And every time Dan comes and says we're going to do free shipping on $50 or more, I just really want to throat punch him, because I know how much it costs for us to have to ship that out. And by us, I mean me, to have to physically put it in the box, source the ice packs, source the insulated bags, all the things, and then you buy, an expedited label because you don't want it in transit for a really long time. Come to find out you have no control over actual transit, because if it says 1 to 2 days, surprise, sometimes they really mean 7 to 12 days, because either something happened or they're just governmentally funded and they just didn't do their job quickly. Who knows? There was a lot that goes into it, and trying to achieve that Amazon experience for people to get them to buy.
Yeah, I think the reason we're kind of harping on this right at the beginning is real easy, is because we got caught off guard. I think right out of the gate we thought we would stand up a store, our customers would just go in there and purchase. We would see them in the store, and then we would refer them to the website, and that would be the way it works. In reality, in retrospect, I'm going to tell the number one advice I'm going to give you is you should start with the conversion experience, and then everything else works back from that. Which means Melanie's mentioned some things today, and we're going to go through a few little specifics so you can walk away with actually some tips. But you need to walk away from like, what's it going to take for someone to actually purchase your product? And that means like how many steps they have to go through on your website. Are they going to be able to see a picture of your website? And I'm going to let people in a little bit of a clue. It's not a picture. It's 6 pictures of a product on the
Mhm.
website. So you have to have, in our case, we have 40 products. So we had to have 240 different photographs and they all have to be engaging photographs that will look good on mobile devices and good look on things. So just the logistics of getting that initial conversion experience really drives all of the decision making back on the design of the website. And just a little, again, coming clean, we hired a consultant because finally I looked at the numbers and I looked at where we were and how many conversions we were losing. And so we hired a consultant to come in, and the consultant was $20,000. That's how much it costs. But I'm going to tell you, it's the best $20,000 we spent on our e-commerce store, because everything worked after we did it, but we didn't start out that way. And if I had to go back and do something from the beginning, I would have started out with a consultant helping us to design the website from day one.
Yeah, I think this is why you and I make a good team work-wise, because I never would have thought to do that. I ran a small business in the past, but I always felt like I had to do everything myself. I had to reinvent the wheel every single time. I didn't really realize the value in having a consultant do these things for you, and then just all of the technology that's out there and all the services that are available. I thought when you said, let's do an e-commerce store, here I'm going to be sitting there with my phone and I'm going to have to take, 14 pictures of this toffee bag and try to get it where it looks good and there's not a glare, and I want them to see what it looks like in my hand. And we quickly found services, not necessarily in Fredericksburg because we're in a small rural town, but in larger cities like Austin and San Antonio, they have services where you can go and you can take all your products, and they have stylists and they'll help you with that. I didn't even know that was a thing, that you could do that, because I had never done e-commerce before. So
you're bringing up Suna, and
mhm,
Suna it's a woman-owned company. I think they're out of Denver or out of
I think
Colorado,
so.
and they basically have studios that are all around the country, and you can actually mail them products, and they'll actually do your photography for you. But walk through how that works. Like, how do we go through getting a picture on our website?
It was really cool. It was an experience that, like I said, I'd never had before, and I was impressed with it because you get to go into this building that's set up just for product photography. They have everything from like full body models if you're selling a t-shirt or something, to just a hand model if that's what you want. And then they have stylists, people who, put all the extra little things around your product and make it look super cute, or maybe like theme it for a holiday or something if that's what you want. Seamless, super easy, crazy talented people work there who know how to do those things. And so you're there with a photographer. It's not like, a JCPenney portrait studio thing. They have a lot better backdrops and things like that. You get to see in real time all the photos, and they're taking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of photos. And you're not required to purchase all of them. You get to go through, pick the ones you really like, and then they'll even send it off and do a little editing to that photo to just kind of enhance anything that you wanted. And you have that in your gallery. And so now from Fredericksburg, I can sit here and I can scroll through all of our images that we've had taken. Some of them are purchased already, some are not. If I want more images, I can go in there and just buy them. And if not, then load up the car and go to Suna and feed them some chocolate and get them to take some good photos.
Well, I think what she's letting you in on is when we first launched, we thought we could take all of our photography ourselves. And I'm a photographer, and I thought we could too, but we quickly got overwhelmed. So photography was one of the things that was right out of the
Mhm.
box that I would say it's important. If you're going to have an e-commerce store, people have to see your product. The second thing that I think was kind of hit me was that people cannot purchase from you if they don't know you exist. So I think we grossly underestimated how difficult it is to bring brand awareness to a new e-commerce store. So we had to capture email list. We had to do email marketing. We had never done significant email marketing before. And so we had to figure that out. Like, how would we actually send an email to someone and then connect it back to our store? We had to get very active on social media. And then finally, let's talk a little bit about incentives to purchase, discounts. I know you love to talk about
Ah,
love to talk about discounts.
Dan's always trying to give away the farm. He wants to, back to it's that lifetime value of that person, which is fantastic. I just feel like my lifetime is gonna end before we get all this value back out of these people. Um, but man, it's painful to say. You're right. There needs to
Wow.
be incentives. There needs to be a discount every now and again. I think, for me, it's just it goes back to we're a small business, and I know the ins and outs of it, and I know how expensive it is, not only monetarily, just with our time and our sanity and everything else, and have someone come up and say, "Can you discount that?" Gives me a feeling of they think it's not as valuable as what we have priced it at, when that's totally not true and not what they're doing, at least not for most. It just and I'm an incentive person. I like that deal. I mean, I'm shopping from my bed and getting clothes and whatever else. I'm buying what's on sale and when there's an incentive. So I get it. Sometimes we got to kind of spur them a little bit to know you really do need chocolate today. And yes, your girlfriend really does need chocolate or whoever. So,
Okay, so the other big hit that I would argue that we had got slammed in the face with was that there are a few what I would call brick walls on e-commerce. And if you're going to e-commerce business, you better know this up front because I'm going to tell you I'm right on this one. That the number one reason people don't purchase on e-commerce stores is the cost of shipping.
mm,
Shipping is the absolute number. People will go all the way through the process. You will drive them to your website. They will look at all your pictures. They will finally put it into their cart. They'll even take the cart all the way to the checkout. They'll get to the checkout and then they'll look at the shipping and they'll abandon the cart.
super frustrating. And it's even more frustrating because it's chocolate. Because again, it's not like we're buying a t-shirt and they're going to throw it in whatever that plastic bag is that they shove into your mailbox folded up 4 times. We don't have that luxury. We have to have a nice, hard, rigid, more expensive cardboard box. It's not going to crush when, they stack these 50-pound whatevers on top of them that they do. It's got to have insulation. It's got to have ice packs. You've got to wrap each individual actual product in either some sort of plastic or bubble wrap because now you've got ice packs in there. And even though they say non condensating, they're going to condensate. And now your pretty beautiful gift is wet and is not pristine when they get it. And so it's really, really, I grapple with that of, I want to pack this, perfectly. I want to put $150 worth of stuff around it because I know what it took to make that chocolate. Man, I'm going to have to ship it for free. Like, what?
So we ship from Fredericksburg, Texas, which is very convenient. I would say
Mhm.
we're a rural community, but it's very convenient because we're really close to Austin, San Antonio. We're in the middle of the state of Texas. And so we can do almost next day shipping anywhere within the state, almost on basic economy. So the good news is we're sort of advantaged because of our location. But let me walk you through, and I'm gonna have Melanie do it. Walk us through a typical, like, how do you ship something? What do you have to do every day when you ship something? And what we learned about the shipping, about even though we don't have UPS pickup at our store, we drop it off, and you wanna walk through why we do it and how we do that.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, you have to check your orders. And you just mentioned we can usually get quick shipping here in Texas. Nobody in Texas is ordering chocolate from us. Your marketing is hitting people in Vermont, in Maine, in California, in Florida. The holidays, I'm fairly certain that I ship to minimum 48 states. And, Texas being the smallest of those because everybody out of state wants chocolate from Texas. I guess we're really good at what we do. But you do that. You pull the order, you bring it back here to the shipping shed. You got to decide what size box it's going to fit in, your exterior box. You've got to make sure that it's going to fit in the insulated bag. You've got to make sure that you time it right because even though you're using ice packs or something to keep it cold, you can't come back here at 10 a.m. and put all these ice packs in and seal it all up and have it ready to go when you're not going to drop it off until late that afternoon. You've already lost all those hours of transit time on your cold packs for that. So you can get partially there. And then at the very end, it's like go time. We hand deliver it to typically UPS because our UPS guy stops by here in the morning. I don't want to put my packages on and have them riding all around town all day long before they eventually get sent to San Antonio to get on a plane or wherever they're going. So, yeah, we wait till the last second. We throw ice packs in, we finish sealing it up. We hop in my car that's usually packed to the ceiling with packages, and we slide into the UPS store while the truck is there, like shutting the door, ready to go, and we put them directly onto the truck. Most of the time, we don't carry them inside, and kind of make eye contact with him. This is my baby. Take care of it. Sometimes they do. Sometimes we can hear boxes flying as we're walking back to the car, and it just kind of makes you cringe a little bit. Is that what you wanted
Yeah,
to
and
know what
actually,
happens?
the one little thing I would say is I'm not superstitious, but during Christmas, during the holiday rush, especially where there's like, hundreds of packages going out every day, I always call it paying homage to the UPS gods. So I always take chocolate and confections to the UPS drivers, just saying, "Hey, would you please take care of our packages for
Yeah.
today?"
I can't help but think that every little bit helps. I mean, at least we try. And we want, like I said, I mean, it's always our intention for the chocolate to arrive in perfect condition and, everything is just great. But once we hand it off to them, you have zero control over what happens. You're told a shipping label is a 2-day label. You have no idea if it's actually a 2-day label. You put all the stickers on there that say this side up, careful, protect from heat, do what I you have no idea that if they're even aware that that sticker is on the side of the box. You just cross your fingers, say a little prayer, and turn it over and hope.
Yeah, I would say that of the e-commerce business, the shipping is where you have the least control.
Mhm.
You don't have control over the pricing. You don't have control over the timing too much. You don't have control over just so many things related to shipping. And then to add one more thing on top of that, shipping today is not like our decision a lot of times. So we sit back and go, hey, we're going to ship. We want to ship all UPS. Well, today because we sell on Instagram and TikTok and Shop and all these different services that are part of the e-commerce
Yeah,
store,
Pinterest.
Pinterest, Etsy, all right, I could keep going down the list of all these different avenues that we sell through. Often they will dictate the shipping. So I'm going to tell the story because I think it's relevant. We sell on TikTok. Well, in the summertime, we sell all items. So we have expensive bonbons on there, but we have $10 marshmallows. And so this summer, I get an email from TikTok that says, hey, we're giving you a strike because your shipping charges are too much compared to the value of your product. Well, yeah, they were. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, but if you order $10 marshmallows in the middle of summertime, it's going to require $25 worth of shipping charges from UPS to be able to ship it. So we got a strike from TikTok, and it really was kind of angry to me about that. And I would say that
Mhm.
the shipping is changing more and more where we're getting dictated like you have to ship this way. I think we just got an email this week from I think it's from TikTok again saying they're going to dictate the shipping solution for us, right?
Mhm.
So we print the label, but the actual charges and the label, everything else related to the shipping is dictated by a third party. And I think as a business owner, that's very frustrating. At least,
Super frustrating. Yeah, and we're in a small town. Again, we have a UPS store, we have a UPS pickup location. We do have the post office too. I mean, we won't go there, but we don't have FedEx. So a lot of customers are like, "Oh, don't send it USPS, don't send it UPS. I only like FedEx coming. They come a lot faster because I'm in this other rural location in Ohio." We don't have that luxury. Like, I don't have a FedEx drop-off location. There is one here in town, yes, and don't come at me and hate that I'm not aware. I am aware, and they pick up at 3 o'clock. So, again, when it's 112 degrees outside and I'm trying to ship chocolate, I don't want it to sit there from 3 o'clock until 7 o'clock whenever they take it, to the distribution center. I don't want that.
so part of the deal with I think we're spending a lot of time on this is because this is between the conversion experience and the determination on shipping. Shipping is a big issue. It's a big issue for your e-commerce store. So you better
Mhm,
nail your shipping solution. You better find out the most reasonable rates. You got to figure out a system for getting it shipped. You got to take care of your product. The last thing you want to do is to ship a product to a consumer and disappoint them and then have to replace the product that just, because the shipping costs might be as much in the chocolate business as the cost of the product. So you really want to make sure that you deliver a good experience.
yes, but don't be discouraged. Take that, little market that you've been doing. Go ahead, open up your e-commerce store, ship away.
Yeah,
It's tons of fun.
In Melanie's defense, I mean, we do some things here. We do ship 12 months out of the year. which many chocolatiers around the country do not. They only ship like in like 9 months out of the year because they don't want to ship in the summer. We do ship in the summer, but we ship it like sushi. So I mean, we're kind of shipping it like sushi, which adds cost if people want chocolate in the summer. So that's one thing. The second thing is, and this is not a diss to any other chocolatier, we're unique in this among, I mean, I would say the vast majority freeze their chocolates. And so they'll often will ship a frozen chocolate, which can then defrost and shipment. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I mean, to be honest, we would probably do it if we had space to freeze it.
Space to do
we don't
more
have the
spacing, but we
room.
don't do that. But that's another little tip if you're shipping any kind of confectionery product, if you can freeze it before you package it, then you could theoretically, keep it in a freezer until you just drop it off at the shipping, and that actually would be beneficial too. We just don't do that. We have a quality issue that we would love to not have to do that if we don't do it. So we try to produce things and then ship them. That's really kind of what our goal is here. Third thing, we throw this one at you, is that what happened? How do people contact you about any kind of order questions or order information? That hit us off guard too.
How do they contact us? Well, they respond to an SMS text. They respond to an email, a marketing email that you sent out. They will comment on Facebook. They will comment on TikTok. They will comment on Instagram. They might comment on LinkedIn. They might call the store, and they're not calling the store during normal business hours. They're calling the store at 11 p.m. when they have a question about something because they're shopping online. All of these things are coming at you from every different direction. And, it's a lot to manage that. So again, Dan's nerdy. So he came up with a really great solution that my little brain had no idea existed, that you could get these platforms that would put everything into one funnel for you to respond by.
Well, she's being a little generous. I mean, we literally, when you run a point of sale store and people have a problem, they literally can send you an email or they can call you. That's basically the way they get in touch with you. That's for the most part. But today, because you're marketing on Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest and Etsy and all these places, we launched, I remember the e-commerce store in like November. And then within a week, Melanie was getting emails. I was getting emails. We did not have a management solution in place for managing our communications and our contacts. And so we went with a system called Gorgeous. And Gorgeous is basically all of our systems come into one place. All of the inputs come into one channel. So we only have to log into one dashboard. So I would say mandatory lesson learned. If you're going to open an e-commerce store, you have to have a unified dashboard. All of your communications need to come into one spot. So everybody in the store is talking to the customer about the same problem. And then the cool thing about Gorgeous is that because we're on Shopify, it connects to the shipping system. So we can actually see where their shipment and order is. We can pull up their account. We can see how they, what they ordered, what issues they were having. We can issue a refund if we need to, or we can make an adjustment. So that was absolutely a big issue for us. I mean, I remember being caught off guard, and we really rapidly rotated into getting that set up.
Yeah. Then we had to decide who was going to do the responses, because you don't always want Melanie to respond. Sometimes you're looking for 7-star service Dan to respond to
That's
something.
Not true. She gives 7-star service too, but she's being funny. But it does, we do have a model that we try to make everybody happy, and that's our business model, Hill Country Chocolate, is to make people happy, right? That's what we're after. So that extends to when we do the shipping, extends to do that kind of issue, but it does create a lot of things, and I think it caught us off guard on doing that.
Yep,
for sure,
100%.
Okay, what about let's talk about we mentioned this a little bit briefly before, but like getting people to come to your store.
To the e-commerce store?
To the e-commerce store.
Ooh.
That's comprehensive.
That's massive. And again, your nerdiness comes into play on that, because it's marketing. I mean, I'll repeat something that Dan has recently coined, a term that I've heard him say to multiple people, because I hear him say a lot of things. You can't think of marketing as a line item anymore. You got to think of it as a necessity or as a utility. It's not something that you can compromise on. It's not something that you should feel like, oh, I'll market if I have the money to do it. It has to be a part of your budget, especially if you're running a small business in a small community like we are. And if you're on e-commerce, because man, it's not called the World Wide Web for nothing. It's huge, and the choices are vast. And if you're not found, you're not found. You don't exist. So yeah, you came into play with all that.
Well, I think that was probably another big lesson that happened after these functional things was that we had to get found. And I think part of it was where, you enter in a world in e-commerce marketing that is so vast. There's so many, there's not one element there. And if anybody tells you that, oh, just go run Facebook ads, you're going to be fine. That's not true. And I'll go to bat. I'll argue with people on that all day long. Because number one, you probably don't have the money to run Facebook ads.
Or know how.
Or know how.
How do you know how? Or what your
Right.
ad's supposed to look like?
It's going to be very complicated for you to have a one-hit wonder going through. Same thing with TikTok. You think, well, I get a viral TikTok. Great. We've had a viral TikTok. We had 170,000 views on a TikTok. Okay, that lasts, I don't know, 2 weeks. And you're done.
Well, it wasn't a product. It was me making fun of you.
You've got to be able to have a persistent marketing presence that is omnipresent, which means I think what caught us off guard was that we had to be not in one channel, we had to be everywhere. And I think if you're becoming an influencer, like on YouTube, or if you're developing something like a service business, you can go deep. You can become like all over YouTube and you're fine. But if you're doing an e-commerce business where you're selling a product, you need to be on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. You've got to be on all these platforms. You got to be sending out emails. You've got to be, engaged in YouTube. You've got to be on Shorts. You've got to be on Reels. You've got to have all this different kind of information that, honestly, it's overwhelming for a small business. It's overwhelming to start that out.
And you have to do it all the time. It can't be a one-off thing. It's not something that you just did because it was just before the holidays. Because guess what? You got bills to pay all month long or all year long. It's just you're everywhere all the time.
And this was going to be controversial, but I'm going to say this up front: you can't outsource it. Now, Melanie mentioned that I've been saying this a lot. You can outsource social media. Don't get me wrong. You can hire somebody to come in and take a picture of your business and post every couple of weeks. But the point about it is you got to have people convert. And particularly in a small business, it's expensive to hire people to do that. And you just can't get enough bang for your buck, in my opinion, to make it worth your while hiring people to do the work. First of all, consumers today are they so read through the lines. They understand if this is authentic or is this just some picture that was pulled off Pexels and had something on there, an AI generated picture. People know that. They want to know who's actually creating a craft product. So in the chocolate business, we're a craft product. I mean, we actually produce everything we sell. We try to do it from scratch. The last thing we can do is put a generic social media post out there. That's not going to help us.
Well, and nobody knows your product like you do. Nobody knows the processes like you do. So if you're trying to hire someone to just come in and just, do a little bit of social media, that's great. They might take a pretty picture here and there, but can they really convey what all went into that product? Probably not. I mean, you know your product better than anybody else does.
You do. And I think she mentioned this. I call it feeding the beast. You've got to feed the beast of this monster, because you're not going to be able to do every time you turn around, you've got one more marketing element to do that. Now, we've learned a lot over the years, and I'll tell you that one of the most successful things we've learned is that organization and structure is your best friend. So, being organized and being planning in advance so that you don't end up, showing up at the last minute and just saying, I'm just too tired today. I don't know what language to put in an email. And the second thing is, one person can't do it all. And it is not a line item. She has heard me say that a lot. I think in running an e-commerce business today, it has got to be a core component of your business to do the marketing. You can't outsource it. You can't hire it away. You've got to have everybody on your team participating. So that means you got people working in your retail store. They're taking pictures. I'm the show pony on the weekend at the chocolate factory. I'm taking pictures with guests and I'm shooting testimonials. Melanie is, making sure that when we're producing products, she's getting product photography done early on so that we can start to promote the product. So it's a comprehensive approach to get people to your store. And I think the amount of work that happens from that is it's great, grossly underestimated by people.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
And then the final thing I want to talk a little bit about is just the setting up the store. And I don't think people understand the cost of running an e-commerce store. So people sort of think, well, we just sell online, that we're not having to open a building, we're not having to hire staff, we're not having to do this. But that's not true. It's actually expensive to run an e-commerce store.
Yeah, you probably know a little bit more about the actual expense of it than I do. I do the working, moving parts of it. You do the bill paying part of it, which is thank you for that. Um, no, it is expensive. I mean, we just talked about photography. So you make a couple of new items, say you're knitting hats and you start your e-commerce store with 10 hats. Well, you're not going to make those 10 hats till the end of time. You're going to continue to make new things, new colors, new varieties, which means a new photo shoot and a new description and more of your time setting it all up in there, making it a product, making sure it appears right online and make sure it's found.
Yeah, I'll run through some costs just for practical purposes. So photography is a good example. Let's just start there. You absolutely can shoot the pictures yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. But I will tell you that the better that picture looks, the more apt you are to get somebody to do the conversion. Which, remember, that's how we started off, is getting people to click purchase, right? To click the purchase. So it's going to be somewhere in ballpark $30 to $40 an image. And that's always going to shock
Mhm.
people about the cost. It's like $30 for just a picture of, roasted peanuts. Yes, it's going to be about $30, but it is a permanent asset, and we treat it that way, right? We host those, we have them, so we can use them over and over again. But there's going to be a cost, and that's not counting potentially hiring a stylist or the transportation or sending staff members to go get the photography done. So photography is a significant kind of cost. Shopify is not free. So there's several tiers on Shopify. There's a free tier that looks really appealing, but you figure out really quickly that you can't really operate your store on the free tier. You're going to have to be on more of a paid tier. And unfortunately, you get a lot of services if you go up to the top tier, but most businesses don't spend $1,000, $3,000 a month on Shopify. They spend more in that lower range, which is going to be that $200-ish kind of range. But that's just the cost of being on Shopify. But the problem is that you can't just have a Shopify store. You've got to market, you've got to ship, you've got to have reporting, you've got to have that solution we had about our customer service, which we call Gorgeous, but that's $95 a month. You got to have an email solution like Klaviyo to send out your emails. That's going to be about $95 a month. You're going to have an SMS solution to send out text message marketing, because today, by the way, that's a very effective way to market your store. That's going to cost $50 to $100 a month, plus the cost of the text. So you start to add all that up, the e-commerce store, and I've just scratched the surface of things you spend on your store. When you start to look at that, there's going to be some cost to your store that's not free. And so you always have to think up front, I've got to recover the cost of running the store plus the marketing cost to be able to make it worthwhile. So it's not just immediately additive revenue to your company. There's going to be a cost of setting it up.
No, there's a lot of work that goes into it, but it's almost an expectation now. People come into the store and they shop around and then they don't really even ask anymore, do you sell online? They just say, what's your web address? How can I buy this online? They expect you to have that web presence and for them to be able to purchase online.
Yeah, and I think that we've hit on a bunch of like problems today, and I'm going to tell you that we're trying to be raw here about telling you the good thing. The take home message is, would we have done it again? And the answer is yes, we would have.
Absolutely.
But because there's no way to grow your business without it. Today, you are limited to the traffic that comes by your store. If you've got a point of sale store, or we do wholesale, so we got wholesale clients, which is fantastic. But you're kind of limited to that word of mouth marketing. That's what you're going to end up doing. Here, we got an opportunity to sell to a national audience. And she's correct. We had people order from Maine to Washington, right, for Christmas, right? And so a lot of that happened because you build these relationships. And then secondly, you've got people that come to your store that you continue to have the relationship with. So you develop a lifetime value curve with those people that's really fantastic. And I think to grow a small brand, it's not really an option to do it, but I think it's essential. One little caveat, we didn't do it day one. We opened our store initially, we opened the factory, we got our processes and product in place before we did it. I would highly recommend doing that too. I think you could start off from an e-commerce store right away, but it helped us to have the customer feedback in the store so that we knew what to sell online.
Mhm. I agree.
Awesome. Well, we got a question. Not a question. Somebody had a comment that said, "Thank you for the breakdown." So Denise, thank you for saying that. We like it when we get a comment on the live
You're
stream.
welcome.
So we answer every question. So if there's something on this live stream you have a question about, I'll put some resources in the description too with some of the links of the services that we talked about today. And until next time, thanks for joining us.